All right. Let's talk about it. So, a series of revelations. I'm using this term loosely from the Microsoft leaks regarding the FTC case and with the surrounding the acquisition of Activision. There's a mouthful. Anyway, so various media, game journalists, game media, whatever you want to call them, and tech sites and whatnot, everybody's going bananas and making all kinds of articles about some of these leaks. Most notably, Phil Spencer's leaked emails or whatever messages and discussion about the idea of acquiring Nintendo or Valve. The possibility of the next generation Xbox console in 2028, and all points in between, and like new iterations of the Series X and Series S, and it's been some news, and it's fun to speculate and discuss what might have been, but these are discussions and brainstorms, and all too often people are taking this stuff and just running with it and, making more of it than what it is. I'm sure lots of companies have considered acquiring Nintendo. Nintendo is a valuable brand and franchise and company that's been around forever. The Switch has sold remarkably well, which is fantastic considering the Wii U and, that whole mess. Although I personally loved the Wii U, don't get me wrong, but, after the Wii U fiasco, or the bad sales and poor marketing and everything that went into that, it's nice that the Switch is on a resurgence. We're probably going to hear about a Switch 2 or Switch Pro or something soon. I don't think we'll see it soon, but we'll hear about it probably soon, possibly even during TGS this week. So it's no small surprise that, Microsoft thought about buying Nintendo, or Microsoft thought about buying Valve and the Steam platform, which would make sense to an extent. I mean, Microsoft is the PC company. When you think about it, Windows is installed on virtually every machine other than a few. So, and they've got the Microsoft or the Windows Store. So it would make sense that rather than rebuild the wheel, they could just have purchased Valve and Steam and co-opted the two and had a marketed platform. But, neither of those things happened. Neither of those things are going to happen. Valve and Steam are pretty secure. Nintendo has been sitting on a pile of money, regardless of any mistakes they might make or have made. Nintendo's future is relatively secure. I can't see either of them being acquired by anyone. And to be fair, I can't see any Western company acquiring Nintendo. That seems very unlikely. It's just like if you asked me about the acquisition of Capcom, Konami, or Sega, I don't see any Western companies doing that. I think if anybody's going to buy Sega, it'd be Nintendo. That would make sense to me. And be ironic at the same time. I could see Nintendo buying Konami or Capcom. I could see Sony buying Konami or Capcom. I could see Sony not buying Nintendo, though. But I could see Sony acquiring Sega, actually. But that's just me speculating. There's no news about that whatsoever. I'm just, talking out of my butthole. Anyway, the problem with all the coverage that's coming out is people are making more of it than what it is. People are reacting the way beyond what it is. Sure, of course, Microsoft may have made a small pitch to purchase Nintendo, and I'm quite sure Nintendo probably did laugh their asses off as they, looked at their piles of money in the bank account going, we don't need it. Because they don't. Nintendo is secure. I'm sure Nintendo will be secure for some time to come, especially if, the Switch 2 is successful and any other things they decide to go with, and the Mario franchise, Mario movie. And if they start building more movies and whatnot and reaching out into multimedia with their franchises, if Nintendo really needed money, let's be very clear. If Nintendo needed money, they could put all of their first party franchises on PC and they would sell and they would be laughing all the way to the bigger bank that they would need to hold their piles and piles of money. Same with Valve. Valve could, conceivably never make a game again. But with Steam, they're making their pretty pile and they're secure. So, and I will admit, the idea of Microsoft or Sony or anyone else buying Nintendo, actually, it's either really those two. If either of those two really bought Nintendo, I don't see that getting through regulatory checks anyway. That's just a bit too much. People are making a big deal out of Activision, but Activision is just a game publisher, of which there are many. And people are talking about how Call of Duty, and as big as that franchise is, there are others. So even if it didn't end up on a Sony platform, conceivably sometime in the future, I would hope if that happened, Sony would find the wherewithal to just develop a better competing franchise to go up against it. Like, that's always been an option, and ultimately the Microsoft acquisition of Activision had nothing to do with Call of Duty. It was about King and the mobile market. That's where most of the money is being made, and that's where Microsoft needs to really, they needed some kind of vehicle to really penetrate the mobile market. Anyway, I'm such a child sometimes. Anyway, all right. So, getting King and the mobile assets of Activision is what Microsoft's really after. Sure, Activision has some great IPs, and it has Call of Duty, which is a notable moneymaker. I do not deny that. But it's not the center of the gaming universe, no matter what some people might think. And Sony could always find a studio that could make them a competing franchise. So, Microsoft acquiring Activision doesn't really change the balance of power, especially with so many studios closing anyway, and more indie darlings are making serious coin. I'm not super worried about Microsoft getting a monopoly on the gaming market. If anyone we need to keep an eye on, that would be Tencent and their shares in everybody. But that's another video. These leaks are interesting, and they show the thinking of a time back a few years ago, mostly pre-pandemic, I believe, when Microsoft was in a different position. Nintendo was in a different position. Everything has since changed, and the companies are going in the directions they mean to be going in. And Elder Scrolls 6, I think that was included about how that might not be on PlayStation. It does not impact me as a gamer because I'm not an Elder Scrolls person. I'm not really a Bethesda games person. I, respect the veneration of their franchises, and I'm, Starfield just, I was initially somewhat interested, but having seen more of it, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. That's not anything against the game. It's just there's something about Bethesda RPGs that just don't resonate with me. That's fine. Would not putting Elder Scrolls on PlayStation hurt Microsoft? Probably not. They'll put it on PC, which is where the main audience for these games generally are, and maybe a Xbox console at the time. We'll see if there is one. In whenever it comes out, 2028, it'll probably be a launch game for the next Xbox next generation console. Prediction, I have nothing to back that up, just a guess. Again, Sony could find a franchise that they could leverage and make a competitor to Elder Scrolls. Like and given, we're talking about 2028. I mean, there's some flap about 2026 at the earliest. Let's just say 2028, call it what it is. They've got a few years, they could make a thing happen. They could acquire a studio that could do it, or they could, I don't know, make a new Legend of Dragoon. I'm just saying. So yeah. The thing with all these leaks, and the purpose of this video, I got kind of rambly, I'm sorry. The purpose of this at the end of the day is Leaks are interesting. It's fun to talk about what could have been or what might have been or speculate on where Microsoft might be going. But at the end of the day, this is what they were thinking, not what they are thinking. And people are making more out of these things than there actually were. I'm sure lots of companies have dreamed about acquiring Nintendo. None of them have. None of them probably will. It's fun to talk about. But it's not that big of an earth-shattering story. I'm sure Sony had the same thoughts about Nintendo at one point. I'm sure EA thought about it at one point. You know, I'm sure Microsoft has thought about buying EA. Sony's probably thought about buying EA, but nobody wants that mess. So, yeah, like, speculate, enjoy the might have beens. You know, come up with some alternate gaming history of what could have been. But these leaks, these emails and messages and documents, they're fun to talk about, but they're not gospel. They're not dictating the path forward for anyone. It's just, they had an idea, this is a thing. It's certainly making for some clickbaity, you know, articles and videos. I'm sure I'm probably going to have some kind of catchy title for this. Maybe. I don't know. But just, you know, don't go in expecting it to be earth-shattering news when it's not. And read them, enjoy them, and then move on, because that's all it is. It's a fun story, but it's not dictating the direction of a company or the direction of an industry. The gaming industry is in a weird place right now, and studios are closing all over the place and new ones are opening, you know, and people are moving around, people are leaving positions. Companies are buying each other out, or they're, you know, making sweet love and coming up with interesting collaboration babies. It's fun to be an industry watcher and seeing the direction things are going, and it's a great time to be a gamer. There's all kinds of games in all kinds of genres to enjoy. Just don't let your love or hate for a particular console or a company blind you and drive your emotions when, in a lot of cases, it's much ado about nothing. Enjoy your day. Have a good one. We'll keep watching the leaks to see if anything really interesting pops up. And yeah, 2028 might be an interesting year if we get there. Later.